All right, here we go. Thanks for signing on, you guys. It's Thursday night. It's January 18th. So we're right in the middle of January. Lots and lots of clients on program. We had so many that started in the month of January. So we just are using this opportunity to walk through what does good quality client support look like over the first few weeks. And really, I think we talked about this last week. We are really using this opportunity to do two things, I think. Probably more, but at least two. Number one is we are really looking to bond and establish a relationship with our clients, using the opportunity to get to know them, build trust, confidence, because that's really what makes us different. You know, that we care about people, we care about their success. We're going to ask questions more than just around the weight loss plan, et cetera, because we really want to get to know them and help them improve their life in all areas, or awaken them to what's possible. And the other is we want to make sure that they have the Optavia experience, right? They're going to sign on to the program. They're going to love the weight loss program. And if we're not careful, that is all they are going to do is the weight loss program. So it's our role to really introduce and put them into, integrate them into the system and really show the value of why we're doing that, why they would want to be a part of it. So tonight, Meg is going to help me. We're going to kind of tag team and go back and forth. And Meg does a really stellar job. She's got a lot of clients and has really in a short amount of time learn that what we do is a skill and that we can learn it and we can learn it very quickly. So I'm going to have her share as well. But in terms of, so we talked about week one, how we call them the night before and the first few days, and then we do that week one celebration call with our business coach, right? So we want to do that three-way call. And I was really happy. Several of you guys reached out this week and we scheduled the calls. Debbie Pasco and I have one right after tonight, right after this call, really letting our clients know that we have that extra layer of support available to them. And then in week two, as far as points of contact, we're going to keep that verbal conversation going. And we recently, probably late last year, had a shift. We used to just wait and start calling them once a week, but that we've now recognized that it's valuable to call our clients 2 times during the second week. So maybe Friday is their check-in. Let's say it's Monday. Let's say Monday is their check-in day, because everybody starts on Monday, right? So Monday is their check-in day. We've done their 1-week celebration. Rather than wait a whole nother week, and also they're going to enter another weekend, which we know can be a vulnerable time for our clients because it's early in the game and they're used to their old behaviors. So if we did another touch point, maybe on Friday, call them again, or, so on Monday you say, okay, you know what, I'm going to call you again before the weekend. What's better, Thursday or Friday? Then we talk to them and, it's a great idea to say, what's on your calendar this weekend? What are you doing? Do you feel prepared? Just give them that assurance and confidence going into the weekend, and then check in with them again on their following Monday. So on their 1-week check-in, because here's the reality is that once we know that fat burn is the happy place for our clients. So we want to help them get into fat burn as quickly as possible. And then we want to help them stay there and start building that momentum and really be able to put the pedal down and really get into it and enjoy it. And so the more we're connected to them those first 2 weeks, the more successful they're going to be. The other thing we want to do is integrate them and really introduce and show them the other tools that we offer to them and show the value of why we would want them to participate. So Meg, do you want to jump in here and just share about a couple of layers of that and how you do it with your clients?
Yeah, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So a couple of different layers, some things that I do with my clients. Number one is I try to ask really good questions when we're doing our weekly check-in call. I like to ask them, what are you loving about the plan? That helps me know if they're going to be a raving fan. I like to, and also keep it positive, because sometimes, especially in those first couple of days, they might be a little negative as they're like struggling with some cravings. So I always try to help them see the positive of what's good and what they're enjoying. Also like to ask them, what challenges do you see coming up in the program, or what do you think's the hardest? And sometimes what I hear from people is, man, like I had a coach and it was her second week on plan. And I asked her that question, and she's like, I'm a little worried about how we're going to pay for next month. We're losing all this weight. We're really happy. We love the program, but I don't know how we're going to pay for it. Because her and her husband were both on program. And so I presented the idea of coaching to help fill that need of how they're going to pay for their program. And she came on board and is just rocking out now as a health coach. And so it was a great opportunity to, number one, for her to be able to keep going with the program and reach her health goals. But number two, also make some money for her family and help provide. And as you know, because you're a health coach, when you are a health coach, that is your own health insurance, right? Because you're talking about these great concepts every day. You're all about health all the time. I mean, it really helps keep you on track. I really appreciated that about being a health coach. So those are some questions that I ask. I really try to take time to just listen, figure out what's going on in their world and what obstacles they might see, and then think about how coaching might answer a need for them based on kind of where they're at. And also, if they're a raving fan, if they're like loving the program and losing all kinds of weight, I mean, that's a great time to talk about maybe referring Optavia to people in their world who might benefit from it. So we can ask them, hey, who's asking about what you're doing? Who's noticing that you look great and you feel great? That's oftentimes just a great opportunity there to either get them to refer, and then I'll let them know about my referral deal, how I send money to them. And I think we're going to talk about referrals again in another team time. So, but just wanted to kind of briefly mention that. So I talked to them about that. And another way that I help integrate clients into just our community as a whole, we have those Habits of Health calls every Wednesday night, which are awesome. And so what I'll do is I'll definitely send out the email at the beginning of the week and let them know to put it on their calendar, number one. But whenever I have a new client, I'll ask them, like when we're doing our check-in calls, hey, did you get that email? Are you going to tune in? And then, I'll say, hey, what'd you think about that? Were you able to watch it? Was it helpful? And so just kind of continuing the conversation, because you and I know if they're engaged with the habits of health, they're going to be a lot more successful versus just thinking of this as another diet, right? So it gets them away from the diet mentality more to the whole lifestyle approach. So I love that. And then also I recommend that all my clients interact in our Facebook group. I'm loving all the posts that are going on right now. So I'm always listening when I'm talking to clients and hearing what they're loving, what's going well. And I have my ear, and if they tell me something that rocks my socks off, I'll say, hey, would you mind posting that? Or, like share that with the group. And because everybody loves that. I mean, it's cool when a coach shares, but it's way better when our clients share, because it seems more authentic and genuine. And so I love that. And to me, when they do it too, I'll tell them, like, let me know when you do it, and I'll be sure to like it and support you and encourage you. But if they do follow through, it's a really good sign to me that they may have good potential as a health coach, because they're willing to follow through and put themselves out there. And so my clients that, without even being prompted, like I've got one that's doing awesome on the Facebook group. So I'm thinking in the back of my mind, hey, she's going to be a really good candidate. So I'm already starting to kind of think through that and prepare that in my head with her. And I have some clients that are really afraid of posting in our Facebook group, which is okay. So, I try, obviously I don't put pressure on them to do that, but if they mention something about how they love what's going on in the Facebook group and they're afraid to post, sometimes I turn it on them and say, that's why we love to have our clients post in there, because it's so much richer and so much more authentic when clients post. And so you could be a part of encouraging somebody else on their own journey, and kind of help them see the full picture, get them out of their own heads. Like for us, when we're afraid to post on Facebook, because I know that's a big one for me. Every time I push the button, I like have a vulnerability hangover. But I always think, okay, I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for the one person that's going to see this and they're going to choose to change their life, right? And so the same thing for our clients. If they're willing to be vulnerable on our Facebook page, that's going to be paid forward, right? And it's going to change somebody's life. So those are just a couple of things that I've been trying to do with my clients in terms of, like, number one, thinking through coaching, but also getting them to be engaged in our group as a whole in the community.
Yeah, that's good. And the letter or the email that Meg referenced, what happens is that I send a letter, email out on Monday mornings that has all the information about the Habits of Health call that's going to happen on Wednesday night. So then that goes to all the coaches that are directly under me, and then they forward it out to all their clients and coaches, which would be, you would be in that mix. So then the responsibility falls to you when you get that email. We don't forward it. We don't just forward. What you want to do is copy, cut, paste into your own fresh email and make it look authentic from you, and then send that. And then like Meg said, that is a great opener. Like a lot of times, especially as we get more into the weekly communications, I'll hear from coaches like, I just don't know what to talk about anymore. So that's a great opportunity to say, hey, did you see that, the topic is on hydration this week? And I encourage you as a coach to maybe keep a running list by your desk or easily accessible, or try to remember what the Habits of Health topics were. Because the reality is our clients won't watch every single week. They just most likely won't. But so what I do is I like to use the Habits of Health calls strategically. So I'm actually getting ahead of myself a little bit down the road, but if somebody is struggling, maybe they can't get, if I ask them a question about water and they're like, oh, I'm really having trouble with that, I can say, well, you know what, last week's call was about hydration. It would be a great one to go back to, and I'll even send them the link to it. But more importantly, there's a lot of times ones about emotional eating, managing stress in our life, the typical things, the behavioral that gets in people's way. And if we can, keep diverting them, let the tools do the work for you rather than you trying to coach them through all that stuff that they're gonna go through. So yeah, Meg was completely right. I mean, it's amazing what happens when we take the time to slow down and really get to know our clients and integrate them into the system, and again, showing value. Why? So Meg was exactly right when she said, encouraging our clients to not only just read. I'll hear that from clients too, like, oh, I'm really loving that board. I love reading all the client comments. And so I just had a conversation with somebody and I said, well, have you been posting? And she said, no. And I said, well, you know what? I said, if you'll jump in and add something or share something, you're going to have that same experience for somebody else. And what we're really following on what Meg said, what we're really trying to do is make this bigger than just them. Everybody in this world is very inward focused, but when we can get people to take the focus off themselves and give it and make it bigger than them, whether it's through participation in the Facebook group or becoming a health coach and joining us, that's where the magic happens. So Beth Bilton had raised a question. She said, what do you do when your clients don't want to integrate? And the other piece of the equation also is the Habits of Health system, right? The books and the workbooks. And I would say that's probably where our clients resist us the most. And you can't blame them. I mean, people are busy and whatever. So very often what I'll do with the books is, what I like to say is this, like on week 2, I'll say, so how much, what chapters have you really enjoyed in Dr. A's book? So it's not a question like accusing, like, have you been reading? Because here's one thing I've learned is we're all about empowerment with our clients. And as soon as they feel like we're telling them what to do, or you really should watch that video, you really should read this, the walls just go up, even if they know that they can. So I'll like to sometimes pick and choose, and if somebody says, no, I haven't picked it up, I'm like, well, I know you're busy. I'll tell you what, if anything, start with chapter 3. Yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts about chapter 3 and kind of get them a little curious about it, and then, say, this fair enough. You think you can look at that, but for next week, see if you get some agreement to it. And then you can follow up the next week. What'd you think of chapter 3? And if they didn't do it, I always try to show value of why they would want to. But Beth asked the question, what happens if they don't want to integrate, right? So they're not getting on the calls, they're not plugging into the Facebook group or whatever. All we can do as coaches is keep pointing them to the tools that are going to help them. And again, I kind of like to use it in scenarios because they're going to have struggles. Everybody does. So when they're having that particular struggle is a time to show the resource and why they wanted to connect to it. If they choose not to, what can we do? We can't drag them. We can't drag them to it. Just keep redirecting. we know what the likely outcome is going to be for them, because if they've only been doing the weight loss program, the likely outcome is they're going to fall off. They're going to fall off. And then what happens is, you know, after you've been coaching for 6 years, I was talking to Julie Apple today. We were talking about how many clients have come back, you know, once you've been coaching for a while. And so my question when they come back is, okay, what'd you learn from that? You know, what are we going to do different this time? You know, and then I'll reinforce and then, you know, move them in. But to follow on getting to know our clients better, because we really are about relationship. We've trained on this once before, but you may not have heard it. And then I'll also post a reference, a link to an article that you can read. But there's really an acronym. It's called FROM, you know, FROM. And where each week you can ask a question from one of these categories in order to start building rapport, start listening. It'll give you the opportunity to figure out what does their world look like, what's going to potentially, you know, be challenges for them, what's opportunity for them. And we know, you can look at any statistic anywhere, we know the majority of people, not only do they struggle with their physical health, but they're struggling with their mental health, you know, either for lack of time or stress in their jobs, whatever, lack of time, the ability to do what they want. And the statistics on finances, you know, people are struggling. So if we ask questions, get to know our client and whatever, like Meg said, it gives an opportunity to offer the trilogy. And that's what our responsibility is as coaches. We can't make assumptions that people won't be interested. And if we present it, it's just like when we're trying to integrate them into the system. They don't have to accept it. That's okay. But they may start thinking about it. And so this from, these are the areas to ask questions around. The F stands for family. So a good thing to, you know, some of the questions around that would be, you know, tell me a little bit more about your family. How many kids do you have? You know, you might have asked that, or you might have heard it in the initial conversation, but, you know, a week or two in, ask again. Tell me about your family. What's going on? And then if they have children, I like to ask questions. It depends on the age, you know. So are they in preschool? Where do you have them going to school? You know, see if they're in public school, private school. Are they in sports? Is it time for braces? You know, oh, I remember that age. That's braces time, isn't it? Then they may say like, oh, yeah, not looking forward to those bills, you know. When they get into college age, you know, we know the activities are expensive through high school, et cetera. What are you guys thinking about college? You guys been planning for college for them? And so around that, you know, number one, you just want to see where the stressors are in their life. You know, they might have a 16-year-old son that's off the rails, you know, that could be causing some stress in their life. So, but it gives you it just shows that authentic connection to them. And then maybe would present the opportunity if they're, you know, if we know they've got college around the corner, you know, you know, like Meg said, I don't know if you'd be interested in this, but I'm just wondering, you know, you're talking about the college expenses, that you're a little stressed about that, you know, what would you think about maybe exploring what I do? You know, maybe link arms with us. It's a great way to not only help you with your personal health, but we're compensated well as coaches. See if you can get, you know, that. So there's lots of questions. I'll send you the list of those. Occupation. That's a great one. You can spend quite a bit of time on, but remind me again what you do for a living. How'd you end up in that field? Is that what you had always wanted to do? If they're working in the corporate world, it's usually the answer is no. Do you love it? Love that. That's my favorite question. Do you love it? And some is yes, you know, some people do, and that's great. I'm glad. But statistically, over 60% of people don't. So it opens the door, and some of the questions on this will be, you know, so what do you love the most about what you do? And then another question could be, what do you know, if you could change something, what would it be? So maybe they don't want to have to do the commute or something like that. So it definitely opens the door to talk about the freedom that we have with coaching. And again, you're not necessarily like going to ask a question and then be waiting to pounce with an answer like, oh, coaching, you know, it's, you know, tell me more about that. Really? Okay. And then we wait for that right opportunity. The R stands for recreation. So what do you guys like to do for fun? You guys have any vacations planned? What are you doing this year? What would you do if time wasn't a limitation? What would you like to, you know, what would you like more time to do? So maybe they like to golf, but they never get to go golfing. Maybe they like to travel, but they don't have money to travel. You know, give the question around that. What do you like to do in your spare time? You know, and a lot of times that provides, it was interesting, like with one of my clients recently, somehow we got on the subject of concerts, and it turned out that we both love to go to concerts. So we just got into this conversation about concerts, and he actually lives locally, and he was like, maybe the four of us should go out, you know, go see something sometime. And it was really just building relationship and fun. And, you know, who doesn't like to hang out with people that like do the same thing? So it bridges those similarities. And then the last one is for motivation. And basically, this is the area that you kind of wait on this until you've kind of built that rapport through family, occupation, and recreation. So motivation is asking questions to determine what's really important to them in life. So one of the questions here is, you know, aside from work and recreation, you know, what's really important to you? Are you involved in any charities, any, you know, things like that? If you didn't have to work, what would you do with your time? I love that question. If time and money were no object, what would you do? So that's how you start to get into people's dreams and what is. And we can have a whole nother call around that, about how do you take that information and then, you know, take it deeper. But as Meg said, really our role is just, you know, I'll tell you what, 10 minutes will go by like that. If you ask them, you know, tell me about your week, what went well, what are you loving about the program, like Meg said, what else, you know, where did you get a chance to watch the webinar? And then, you know, so what do you got going on this weekend? You doing something with the kids? Get that, you know, get the kid question in, and then you've kind of addressed it all, and you're building that relationship. Debbie, or do you have anything to add from, you know, you've been coaching a lot of clients, any tips for helping to integrate clients, or anything else you'd like to add?
I would just say I have learned that just through just conversation, and it's not even contrived, or, you know, I don't have to try. It just, conversation just flows, and you get to know people so well just through, you know, they could be complaining about their commute, or, you know, talking about a coworker that makes them crazy, and things just kind of flow, and you just be sure you pay attention while you're talking to people. And it's so easy to, if you talk to somebody every week, you develop an intimacy, just because you're not just saying, how'd it go? Did you eat? Did you drink? Okay, well, have a great week. Like, you're actually having a conversation each week. You develop a bond. And so they care about you and you care about them, and things just kind of organically grow. And so for me, I think that it's very easy to start integrating those aspects of, hey, let's talk. You know, I mean, it's very easy because you start loving them and they love you, and it happens.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody needs it. I mean, not everybody needs the coaching opportunity, but almost everybody does. So, and everybody needs some aspect of Optavia. So whether it's because it fulfills them in an emotional sense, or it helps them in a financial way, or whatever, or it ensures that they're going to do well with their long-term success. I mean, there's so many different aspects that I just feel like everybody benefits from at least taking a look.
Absolutely. I mean, every one of us is on this call because somebody took the time to ask some questions and invite us to coaching, right? There's 14,000, maybe 15,000 coaches around the US, and it's all because somebody asked them. And, you know, anytime I go into a convention or whatever, I walk around that room, I talk to everybody. You know, how did you find out about, you know, Optavia? What interested you in coaching? I'm always blown away, because I think to myself, I probably wouldn't have asked that person. You know, early on in my career, I think I probably wouldn't have even thought that was, yeah, they'd be interested. So, you know, the longer I do this, the more, like you said, the more I see it. And like you said, not everybody, honestly, I believe everybody needs it. Is everybody going to accept it? No. Or they might say no initially. There's a few people on this call that said no a few times before they said yes, you know? Yeah, Meg was one of them. And, I can clearly remember, like, the first time I brought it up, and she's like, no, I don't think that would be for me. Yeah, like, what it was, you know, and I could have let that go, you know, but then the opportunity came up again to bring it up. So, So was this helpful for you guys? I will post the link in terms of those questions. They really, really are valuable. And I will say, if you want to learn or do self-development, any skill in this business, it's just the art of asking questions and listening. And tell me more. Probe deeper. So, all right. Well, very good. Well, we finished up a few minutes early. I know Julie has Elevate Now this weekend in Charlotte, so that'll be fun. And I wanted to let you guys know, we'll post it on Monday, but on Monday, this coming Monday at 1 p.m., I'll be doing a Facebook Live. I was invited to do a Facebook Live in the Agents of Transformation page about some stuff with convention coming up. So mark your calendar, and if you could send me some hearts and love, I would definitely love your feedback on that. So, and there's some exciting announcements you don't want to miss. So, all right, you guys, have a great evening. I'll see you soon.